entered into. I want to give it to Alex a minute to, you know, take it at the end of the day. But then, you know, sometimes, like I said earlier, upset is the name of the game. You can't predict it. It could just go either way. But I think if you ask me, who do you put your money on? I would want to put my money on, you know, the other guy.
Well, get your money right, and this weekend it is very busy one. I will hope that it turns out in favor of the very exciting athletes. But I mentioned to you in tennis, the biggest one is coming up in just about 2 weeks from now, which is the US Open. And after the Canadian Open, I think we should have the Cincinnati Open, which takes place, you know, in Southern California, and thereafter it will be the US Open, the final, which brings big one. But it's not only the male that are preparing; females are preparing as well. And world number one in the female tennis, Iga Swiatek, is in good shape. She's in the semi-final as well. I don't know.
I thought you were going to give that accolade to the men's game because the EPL just returned and top European League. I was eventually going to report you to FIDA, but it was good, you know. It's the women's game. Well, we'll give credit to Australia. They did well. You look at the way, you know, they marshaled out things in the first half. They had, you know, just 1% difference between them and their rivals. The France, you know, national team, the female national team, got a 45%, you know, possession, while they had 44. So it was just 1%. Then you look at the other statistics; they were neck to neck, and then, you know, they ran into the second half of it, and of course, you know, and eventually went into penalties. And of course, we know that penalty is any man's game. On a normal day, you might want to say, okay, the France national team, they are more informed, they've gotten more experience and all of that. But then for the Australians, you want to say, okay, they've never crossed the quarterfinals of the Women's World Cup. They've been there on 3 occasions, and this is their 4th time. And of course, I was thinking, Super Falcons of Nigeria, we saw how dogged they were, you know, when they held on, you know, their own. They played against the Three Lionesses of England, and of course running into penalties, and of course penalties any man's day, and it ended. But then, you know, for the Super Falcons, I want to give credit to the Three Lionesses because they are known as penalty specialists. So I knew once you get into penalty, they will be out. So for the Australians at the host, I think it's a very good one. The fact that they are still in the competition for the 4th time, getting into the quarterfinals, and this time around crossing the quarterfinals. The fact that they are there, it keeps the fans, you know, coming to the stadium, and of course we see that liveliness, you know, we see everything happening, the glamour, you know, at the stadium as the matches progress. So I mean, it's a good one.
Spectacular goalkeeper. All the other countries have had very good goalkeepers in this tournament. I wonder whether they are female. I
didn't get to watch into the penalty shootout between Australia and France. But then, you know, I had to monitor online because I had power issues. But then, you know, we talked about the fact that we've seen, you know, fantastic goalkeepers at the ongoing Women's World Cup. But if there's one goalkeeper I think, you know, needs more experience and needs to stay at one place, is the goalkeeper of the France national team. I didn't get to know the new goalkeeper that, you know, took over from her in the extra time. But the one who was, you know, in the regular time wasn't so fantastic. She was always running out, and that would have cost them one of the goals in the early minutes of the encounter. But so far, so good. I mean, so far, so good in this particular competition. These girls have been fantastic. The goalkeepers have been top notch. I don't know any goalkeeper I want to say didn't do well so far at the World Cup. Even our own, you know, to send that they send US packing, your morale should increase. We saw what played out between the Super Falcons when we beat, you know, Canada, reigning Olympic champions. The first game we played out a draw. The second game we beat the host nation Australia. It was gradually just building, you know, the momentum and of course the psyche of the girls. So if you are able to send, you know, US packing, I think your psyche should have, you know, increased, and I'm sure that was what played out.
Talking about teams that are in playing the very first time in the semi-final of the World Cup, Spain beat Netherlands. Netherlands, former champions, were humbled by Spain. I didn't expect this one coming after the United States of America crashed out of the competition. My next pick was going to be the Netherlands because of their experience and the way they have been playing so far. But the Spaniards had a very different idea on how to stop them and beat them by 2-1.
Well, unfortunately for the Netherlands, you know, they have to go, and sometimes, you know, at this point of the competition, sometimes we don't get to do something in the absence of, you know, James, you know, who had that, you know, I mean, who was red carded after, you know, she stepped on our player in that game against the Super Falcons. But then, you know, experience have come to play, and of course quality and experience, and of course the Three Lionesses, you know, Lionesses have made it to the next round.
Australia, Sweden, Spain and England are into the semi-final. I'm very sure that by the time we return next weekend, they will let you know which of them will be playing in the final that will be coming up next weekend. But like I said, this has been a weekend of the semi-finalists, and it looks like quality semi-finalists have emerged. Sweden and England, very experienced. Spain and of course Australia, you may not say they are at top level yet, but who says that this tournament, which has shown several upsets, will not continue to manifest itself at the finals?
Well, at this point in time,
welcome to the StarTimes 35th anniversary celebration. To say thank you to every StarTimes family for, yes, we are slashing the price of our antenna decoder from 8,900 naira to 7,500 naira, and the dish decoder from 13,300 naira to 9,900 naira. But that's not all. Existing subscribers can recharge for 2 months on their current bouquet and get upgraded to the next higher bouquet. And if you recharge on the classic or super bouquet, you will receive a fantastic reward of extra 15 days of free viewing. You can enjoy our top local and international content. So, what are you waiting for? Quickly, visit any StarTimes outlet around you to recharge or buy your decoder between June 12th to August 31st to enjoy this fabulous offer. Wow! Yay! Let the celebration begin! StarTimes, entertain your family.
Every day, our lives are changed by history.
We are one people, all of us.
Leaders, politics.
Nobody's ambition is what they blood.
I have fought very firmly.
Natural occurrence, war, and the world economy.
I belong to everybody, and I belong to nobody.
ATN covers it all on ATN Politics today.
Welcome back. Sports Extraordinary Weekend Edition here on Atlantic Television Network. And we're beginning to coast home and bring you exciting football stories that is making the weekend tick. First is the return of the 2023-2024 football season in Europe. The first game got underway this weekend and we start in France, where Nice was in action. I don't know, but this is the only game we saw coming in from the first game, Nice versus Lille. It ended 1-1 amidst controversy of the departure of one of the biggest names in football from the French league. You remember him, Kylian Mbappe, but the league will have to start after all. and it was Nice 1, Lille 1.
Well, talking about Mbappe, it was a good one for me, I mean, sometimes, when these players have to, press home, that they want to leave, I think it's just proper you allow them go, because even when they stay behind, there's just less they want to give. They will not give their best. But then, it was a nice one, seeing the teams, come back after 2 months, of break. And of course, we've seen hostilities across Europe. Nice won, Lille won. It was a good one. It's always nice, to start your game, at least get a point, at the end of proceedings in the first game of every competition. It has a way of psyching you positively, or so it's always proper, at least pick a point.
Pick a point, and that's what the two teams did in the French League 1. So Ligue has started in France, and a couple of games to be played, I must tell you, and we'll keep informing you of the results of the matches we have played. It's not only in France that we saw the league get underway. In Spain we saw matches as well. Sevilla was the biggest encounter adversity team in action against Valencia, yet another team well known in Europe, and of course the rest of the football playing community. And I'm very sure you must have followed this game. It was Valencia that beat Sevilla by 2-1. One expected Sevilla, given their European experience, to have overpowered Valencia, who has relatively been quiet over the last few years.
Well, in the last couple of years, yes, Valencia have been a bit quiet, but in the last couple of years, Sevilla haven't lived up to the billings like Sevilla. Even in the UEFA Champions League, UEFA Europa Cup, was it the Champions League they played against, against United?
Yep.
I mean, we saw that, it was luck when United, could not take their chances. They've not been that name, Sevilla we used to know in the last, 2 seasons. So it wasn't a surprise one for me to see a certain Valencia coming to be there. But then it is the first game of the season. You don't have to judge any team, from the first game. Let's see how things play out. Like I said, but it would have been nice, to get a point out of your first game.
Home wins looking rare for the teams. We saw 2 actions, and of course, talking about Sevilla losing at home to Valencia 2-1. There was another home defeat in the La Liga, and that was the encounter between Almeria and Rayo Vallecano. Vallecano were 2 goals better than the home side, Almeria.
Well, I don't want to look at, the pedigree of the two teams. I think, they are almost at the same level. So it could have been, anybody's day on the day. But then, good one for, the side that eventually won on the day.
Well, this weekend is an interesting weekend. Like I mentioned to you, the league just got started across Europe. And when you talk about the Spanish league, 2 big names come to mind, FC Barcelona and Real Madrid. But this weekend, Real Madrid is the team to look at. They are in action against Atletico Bilbao this weekend. Real Madrid, do you think they have done some good transfer business?
Well, I don't think they've done, fantastically well. I remember too well that it was just 2 players I remember, they signed. I don't know if, apart from those 2 players, they did another signing. But the fact that, they now have, a certain Kylian Mbappe, even though we're not very sure of, details of the contract. Some are saying, it could be Real Madrid. Some are saying it's Barcelona. But, before now, it was really heated that it will be Real Madrid. But then, it's something that, no one can say his destination for now. I saw one report, Barcelona. I saw another report, Real Madrid. But then let's look at Real Madrid. I mean, it's a good one. They've come back. They probably will show their pedigree back, as one of us supposedly the biggest team in the Spanish La Liga. But I don't want to say they are the biggest, because I mean, Barcelona have had some fair share of good times in the La Liga before Xavi came to take over and is beginning to turn things around. But then we'll see how things play out.
With actions in the Dutch league, action in the Spanish league, and not forgetting as well the French league. There is a kickoff of action this weekend in the German league. It has to be the Super Cup that precedes the eventual takeoff of the league next weekend. But for this weekend is the Super Cup, and interestingly, it's Bayern Munich up against RB Leipzig. These are 2 names well known in Europe. If you talk about German, they are perennial winners of the German league, and RB Leipzig, one of the teams that have come out recently to challenge. But the fixture for this weekend is being made very glamorous with the addition of Harry Kane, the English national team football captain. He is now a member of Bayern Munich.
Well, 9-1 yesterday I monitored proceedings where he arrived, Bayern arrived at 6:30 p.m. at night, went straight to West Munich, for his medicals, and then left, immediately to the Bayern training for the second phase of his medicals. And of course, we hear that sometime around 2 p.m. today he will be registered to play tonight, and it will be a good sight, to see Harry Kane. I mean, it's a good one for Harry Kane. I mean, one of the longest protracted transfer saga in European football. football, and eventually at the end of the day, he's been released. I think, you know, he's going to take advantage of this move to Bayern Munich, probably create some record, even though he has left that record. He was trying to catch up, you know, that record created by Alan Shearer in the English Premier League. But then, you know, now that he has moved to Bayern Munich, I think he should take advantage of the fact that he's moved to Bayern Munich, create new record, begin to win trophies. He's been without trophies, begin to win trophies, and then maybe create another opportunity where he can move from Bayern Munich to another club. So it will be nice, you know, seeing Harry Kane play tonight.
Harry Kane has played 20 years with Tottenham Hotspur right from the academy, and now he's moved over to the German league, and he's joining the biggest club in Germany, which is Bayern Munich. Interestingly, his first game, he could be winning a trophy. He's played for 20 years with Tottenham Hotspur. He didn't win any trophy at all, but in his very first game with Bayern Munich, if Bayern do beat RB Leipzig in the final of the Super Cup, then it will be Harry Kane's first game and first trophy as well. And
so yeah, I just hope, you know, one of the best, just it wasn't for me, it came as a surprise that he actually moved to Bayern Munich, but then, you know, it's a good one, a good move for him, because he needed to win trophies, and Bayern is one club that he's very sure that he, even if he doesn't win the Champions League this season with Bayern Munich, it's very obvious that, or we could just stay optimistic that Bayern could win the German Bundesliga league again for this season, and then, you know, give, you know, Harry Kane something. For today's game against RB Leipzig, I would just want a situation where they can just win the game and Harry Kane will just start smiling.
Well, the big one most Nigerians follow is the Premiership in England, and the 2023-24 season just got underway this weekend, and Burnley, newly promoted side into the Premiership, was at home against almighty treble winner Manchester City, and it didn't look like a match where they had stand a chance with the big names playing for Manchester City. One man, Erling Haaland, has come out again. Last season, he scored as many as 36 Premier League goals. He scored 2 in his very first game against Burnley.
52 goals overall, you know, he scored last season, and of course, you know, I mean, everyone, you know, seemed to fall in love with him, you know, with those goals. But I think, you know, he has to work harder this season because a lot of people, you know, have mastered him. But then going back to the game yesterday where he scored 2 goals for Burnley, I think, you know, one of the problems they had, you know, I felt, you know, they would have been able to, you know, hold their own and then probably get a draw, because I felt for, you know, Vincent Kompany, I mean, he was, you know, the captain of the side. I think he spent about 9 seasons with Manchester City before retirement and becoming the coach of Burnley, and, you know, having gained that promotion, I was excited for him, and I felt, you know, they were going to get a result. I mean, even if it was a draw yesterday, but then I'm sure they gave Manchester City a lot of respect in yesterday's game, and at the end of the day, they were hammered 3. Unfortunately for them, they just gained promotion. They are the first team to concede defeat in the English Premier League, and of course the first side, you know, to be red carded. But then overall, I think they will begin to garner the experience. I don't want a situation where they will just come to test the Premier League and then go back. We hope that, you know, in subsequent games they will begin to gain that confidence. I think, you know, they need that confidence coming from a lower league to the Premier League.
Vincent Kompany, the former Manchester City player, now coach of Burnley, he actually helped them to bring them from the lower rung league to the Premiership. Should know what to do, but he suffered the first.
But I think if they don't get results 1, 2, 3 to 10 games, they might sack him. If he's not doing well between now and mid-season, I think they will sack him.
Well, we'll keep our
because
crossed.
It cannot be the same with the EPL and the Championship.
We'll keep our fingers crossed and do hope that Burnley will find their foot. It's their very first game, and 3-0 against a team packed with a lot of loaded strikers like Manchester City is not a very bad result.
But for Manchester City, I think, you know, they are going to have a tough challenge against other teams. Even though yes, they have a new Kevin De Bruyne who sustained injury in that game. They have a certain Haaland. They had a Phil Foden. They all did well, you know, yesterday. But then, you know, the fact that they will be, because for me, I'm yet to see a good replacement for Gundogan and Havertz who left the side. So I think, you know, they will have to contend with other teams, even though Haaland has sent a warning message to other teams. One big game for this weekend as well is the encounter between Arsenal and their counterparts from Nottingham Forest from Nottingham, and I'm not really interested in the result, so to say, but I'll just give the result. The result 2-1, it ended in favor of Arsenal, but it was a match delayed by over 30 minutes owing to what they call the turnstile failure, or do I say the electronics failure to recognize the tickets held by the fans. So with less than 30 minutes to the end of the beginning of the match, we still had nearly 40,000 fans, you know, outside of the stadium. Well, quite unfortunate, these electronics, they are man-made and they are bound to fail, they are bound to have issues, and of course, it happens everywhere. Well, the good thing about, Western world is the fact that once it happens,
there's always provision.
There's always
the match was
provision.
delayed for 30 minutes.
There's always an alternative. They always have a plan B to ensure that, they get things back on track.
Getting things back on track, and that's what we saw with Arsenal against Nottingham Forest, because Bukayo Saka is back to goal scoring form, and as well Eddie Nketiah, the man who has
opened the floodgates.
Well for they scored goals this weekend for Arsenal. And talking about Arsenal, we saw most of their players, new players, all on the showcase. How will you rate their £100 million player?
Declan Rice is a fantastic player, and I think he knows the style of Arsenal, and of course we saw his impact in that game. But then for Nottingham Forest, they also held their own. What's the name of the Nigerian there? He also had a fantastic shot.
Where Taiwo only just scored a goal.
Yes, he almost So I think for the Arsenal side, they've recruited, they've got players that can get the job done for them, and I think they are sending a message out, and they also sending a message out to their opponents. Look at the way they played in the Community Shield against Manchester City. But then Nottingham Forest, one of the reasons why I think they consider those goals is that once you start defending, for how long are you going to be defending? At some point, you will definitely make mistakes and begin to concede the goals.
That's what happened. But Taiwo Onoyi, a Nigerian player, started his account with the first goal in the first match. He was clearly the leading goal scorer for Nottingham Forest last season. He seemed to have taken off from where he stopped. Taiwo Onoyi, do we expect more goals off his boot?
Well, we expect more goals from his boots, and he's been doing pretty well.
Talking about someone doing pretty well, we will now look at what's happening in the United States of America, the League Cup, of course, involving Lionel Messi and his club side, Inter Miami, is continuing. He's played just about 4 games now, and he's won all, and has taken his team to the League Cup semi-final. 2 more matches, and Inter Miami will have a trophy from a no position, so to say.
Well, that's the difference between Leo Messi and Ronaldo. Ronaldo left, went to Saudi, and went to Al Nassr, and we expected them, to even do well, in his first season. But then, that didn't come to fore. But we've seen, Leo Messi, he's gone to Inter Miami. He's beginning to get the result. 1, 2, 3, 4. The numbers are counting, and I think he's going to even get more.
Talking about getting more, Lionel Messi has played 5 matches for his new clubs at Inter Miami in the United States. Playing in the League Cup, he scored 5 goals in those 8 goals in 5 matches.
No regrets so far. His signature was acquired.
Clearly, the reason why he was bought is no matter the amount, he's beginning to pay back.
And with all of this now, more players will begin to be attracted to the MLS.
The major league in the United States of America. But talking about League Cup, it will be so nice to see Lionel Messi lift that cup and maybe get ready to ensure that his team do not get relegated in the league, Major League Soccer as well. But let's look at one more transfer tracker list on our tracker. It has to do with FC Barcelona. Ousmane Dembele is now moved out of FC Barcelona and gone to Paris Saint-Germain. It looks like Paris Saint-Germain is getting ready for the departure of Kylian Mbappe.
Well, obviously they got no choice. I mean, the handwriting has been clear, and I think that they should have even started all of this before now, knowing fully that there's no love lost between Mbappe and the club, and of course there's just no way that marriage would continue. So I think it's just a good way to have a replacement for Kylian Mbappe. But if you ask me, I want to think that Kylian Mbappe has a slight edge ahead of Dembele.
Dembele is slightly. Kylian Mbappe, you have no doubt about it, ahead of Dembele, but Dembele has to prove himself. We've seen him not very, very notable, if you ask me, while playing for FC Barcelona. Well,
sometimes when you get to a place where the bulk or probably you are being much is given to you, you don't have a choice to live up to the billions. We saw when the Cristiano Ronaldo left Real Madrid, and of course we saw how Benzema lived up to the billions. So we just hope that he gets there and then prove himself.
FC Barcelona
and justify the amount, his price tag.
Of course, taking out their player Dembele for nearly 50.4 million euros.
I beg your pardon, Bill, not Benzema, Bill.
Okay, all right. Let's talking about FC Barcelona giving out Dembele to Paris Saint-Germain, and they should be in action this weekend. Talking about Paris Saint-Germain against RC Lorient, you think it's an easy take because they be at the Parc des Princes, their home ground against Lorient?
It's the beginning of the season. It's like I said, it's always nice, to pick a point, at the end of the day. But then, a lot of things, have gone for a break, and they've had, their preseason and all of that. And of course, preseason cannot be compared to competitive games. So, somehow one will say that Barcelona have an edge ahead of their opponents, but then we'll keep our fingers crossed and see what plays out. It's still early days in the league.
Early days in the league has just started across Europe, and we still have more teams that will get underway next weekend as well. But when we return next weekend, we'll let you know how it's going to pan out, especially in the German Bundesliga that will start next weekend. But for now, we'll begin to have to see how we can wrap up the show. But just before we get to the end of the show, our Sports Extraordinaire, it's one that is making wave around the world. Today is exactly 34 years that we've seen to the death of one player that would have made a lot of difference if he had continued to play for Nigeria. I'm talking about Samuel Paraji that passed on at the National Stadium playing against Angola inside of the National Stadium in Surulere, Lagos. This is 34 years down the road. For me, I just don't remember Samuel Paraji, especially with what is going on with the Super Falcons being owed several allowances and bonuses. It's not only the Super Falcons, the Flying Eagles being owed as well, the female under 23 side, 20 side being owed. And while Okaraji passed on, this was a player that used his own money to pay bonuses or offset travel tickets for himself. He paid his travel tickets to come to play for Nigeria and left. And sometimes a waiver of his bonuses that was not paid by the Football Federation. 34 years down the road, and we're still having issues of bonuses not being paid to the national team.
Well, first,
we didn't take the death of the player.
First, let me talk about Samuel Kwaraje. Quite unfortunate, the man who laid his life for this country, a true ambassador of Nigeria, died while playing for Nigeria against Angola in an African Cup of Nations qualifiers. But then 34 years down the line, we haven't seen anything positive, anything tangible, anything to immortalize this player. It's only in Imo State or where you can see a sculpture of Sam Okwaraji. Quite unfortunate, and of course these are some of the things that discourage some players from donning the green, white, and green of Nigeria. Quite unfortunate, but we just hope that government after government will find one that will remember Sam Okwaraji and then immortalize him properly the way he should. But talking about the Super Falcons, unfortunately for these girls, well, we hear before the tournament that FIFA was going to pay this money direct to them, and then at some point when the competition started, we hear that FIFA had made a U-turn that they were going to pay the monies to the football federations and all of that. While the tournament progressed, we also heard again that Fatma Samora had assured the girls that they were going to pay them the money direct, and that it was because of Nigeria that they had that option of paying the girls direct. Well, it's quite unfortunate to the level where ex-players and even present players of the Super Eagles are also joining the bandwagon of people calling on the NFF, calling them out publicly to tell them, even the likes of Victor Osimhen, Odionge Gallo, calling them calling the NFF out in public to say pay these girls their money and all of that. And it's quite unfortunate, very embarrassing for the Nigerian Football Federation. Before we went for the World Cup, they had a public brouhaha with the coach of the side, and then this time around now money has been paid now, settled these girls. It's been a problem. Even the Super Eagles themselves at the last African Cup of Nations, they are yet to get balances of their bonuses and all of that. It's quite unfortunate, but then the NFF, this is the only language they understand, calling them to the public, giving them that embarrassment. But then unfortunately, even when you give them those embarrassments, they don't seem to do the right thing. One administration to the other, we see this thing repeat itself. And for me, I'm beginning to feel terribly bad, and I'm beginning to tell people that I'm missing the immediate past president of the Nigerian Football Federation, Amaju Pinnick, because from what I've seen so far, this particular board seems to be going the worst of direction than that of Amaju Pinnick. And we just hope that in the days to come, the federal government, the Federal Ministry of Sports, the presidency and all of that will wade into this matter and ensure that these girls are being paid. Not just the Flying Eagles alone. We also know about, I think, was it, not just the Flying Eagles, I'm trying to recall another team too that have their monies, with the Nigerian Football Federation. Quite unfortunate, but I think, the federal government, the presidency will wade into this matter and then ensure that these girls are being paid what is due them.
That 4 years down the road, Sam Okwaraji that died playing for Super Eagles of Nigeria is yet to be properly immortalized. We just hope that the Nigerian Football Federation will do all that is within their power to.
I do not think that this particular board would do it. That thing that Amaju did not do, from what I'm seeing, I don't think this board would do it. In some countries, a player like Sam Okwaraji might even have a public holiday, a day to mourn him, a day to remember him. But unfortunately, this is Nigeria.
Talking about Amaju Pinnick reminds me of the fact that some of the debts were owed during his administration.
Couldn't we just even name one of the national stadium as Sam Okwaraji Stadium? Couldn't we even name some streets in Abuja as Sam Okwaraji streets? We should do better.
Well, Nigerians, especially those charged with running football, must do better. Because,
we're talking about Sam Okwaraji. Look at Rashidi Yekini. The mom is still alive. It was the former minister of sports that even managed to even recognize the money and then paid her a visit, gave us some money and all of that. On a normal day, if we have our ambassadors, those who done the green, white, green of this country, represented us even at that high level, we should give attention to their parents. Every month, at least have something for their parents, put them on salary and ensure that they get something every month. But unfortunately, that's the case of Nigeria.
34 years down the road, late Sam Okwaraji for me is a hero for football here in Nigeria especially, and deserves immortalization. And that will be it for this edition of Sports Extraordinary Weekend edition here on Atlantic Television Network. We'll definitely be back with another bang next weekend. Until then, remember, peace and unity are clearly pathways to progress. Always enjoy here on Atlantic Television Network.